something I was forgetting. Okay, you guys. So it is 3:40 a.m. in the morning, and I popped up out of my sleep at 2. So I've been up for about an hour. And I've got some thoughts, swirling around in my head along with this indigestion. So I might, kind of burping things, and I'm not proud. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. I don't say that proudly, but I know that it's coming because that's part of why I think I'm up. Aside from the fact that for some reason, for the past few nights, I've been waking up at 3. Um, anyway, some of the thoughts that have been on my mind are part of conversations that I've had with my husband, part of conversations that I've had just over the course of my life with other men and even women. And right now, this topic is going to discuss submission. It might go into other things, but for now, one of the things that one of the things that always baffle me and have baffled me for quite some time about, I'm going to say some men, I'll say it like that, because it's not all men who respond this way, but there is an overwhelming majority of brethren who respond this way. Um, about submission. And so here's the thing. I'm thinking to myself, right, when I've been thinking about this topic for a long time because as a woman, this is something that women, for some reason, we get preached to all the time by men about submission. More men demand submission. Oh, y'all, please forgive me. This indigestion is not no joke. But men demand submission. They like it's something, and when I say demand, like there are some men who truly demand it, like you, submission is a must. But here's the thing that I feel that I have found about submission. Submission is something that is given, first and foremost. It is not something that anyone can dictate, number one. So I feel like that's where men are already. Well, I heard the phrase losing the battle, I guess, like, because I feel like there's a tug of war and there's no reason to be, but the reason that there's a tug of war is because there's a thing where it's not right for you to demand submission from anybody, first and foremost. It's something that's supposed to be given by the person who is supposed to submit, you know? It's not this thing where you're supposed to train your daughters to submit. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that in our society now, yeah, there needs to obviously be this conversation of submission so that we can be aware that it exists and what it's about. But it should never be this thing where you're forcing, people to submit themselves to every man or, things like that. Because, I really truly believe that submission is a gift that is reserved for um, two people who they have a oneness with one another. Um, I just do. I don't think that we're supposed to walk around submitting to everyone. That's number one or three or whatever. But that's not even the main point. That's one very important point, I think, that you cannot demand submission from anyone. Submission is the act of giving one's will over or at least submitting one's will or subjugating one's will up under another. And so, therefore, in essence, it has to be the choice of the one who is going to be in submission. It can't be that of somebody who feels that they're over that person. The other part that really baffles me is that a lot of the brethren who walk around talking about a woman is supposed to submit, or when you're talking to your wife, you're saying you're supposed to submit, and you're saying you need to submit, you need to submit, you need to submit. And this is a constant topic or a point of contention in your union. It baffles me how men can talk about it in a general setting and even in very specific settings with their person, their wife or whatever, or their potential wife. And it's in a way where they're telling and preaching to a woman that this is what she's supposed to do. And it's usually always going to bring up some initial resistance for whatever reason in the mind of women. And I think that's because a woman already knows about submission. I think it's because a lot of women are innately designed that way. And so when a person is demanding something that would come naturally, if there was already alignment, I guess it's like, why are you demanding this from me? I know about this, but there's a reason. Like, I don't know, my mind frame could definitely be skewed. So know that I'm talking from my perspective. To me, because I feel that a lot of women are innately built with things like submission, it's like a woman who might not be submitting to you, or a woman who has not yet submitted herself to you. It's not that it'll never happen or whatever. It's because there's something in you that she sees inconsistency with. And while she may have a very strong desire to submit her will to yours, she cannot do that seeing what she sees about you. So some men might get mad and be like, well, then you shouldn't be with that person. Or some ladies may even say the same thing. And, that's easy to say. But here's the thing. People obviously portray themselves a certain way, right? So you don't recognize or you don't realize all the time that somebody is not exactly who they say they are until you become involved with them on a day-to-day basis. And that goes for both men and women. So I also believe in the idea of mutual submission. Um, because to me, submission is about respect, it's about honor, and it's also about someone who is or who could be an authority on something. So, for example, it is widely accepted, right, that men are an authority when it comes to information about, let's say, building things or fixing on cars, right? And so let's just say that when in logic, right? Logical matters, logical reasoning, and all that. So when I think about submission, I think that, okay, I'm going to go to a man if I'm looking for logical reasoning, if I'm looking for reasoning that is going to be objective, and that is not going to be laced with emotion and laced with, maybe unsurety or all these what if things. I'm going to go to a male because a male is widely associated with being concrete, with being dealing with factual information or dealing with what can be tangible, right? So I submit myself to their expertise, right? But likewise, when it comes to things that deal with the unseen, things that deal with what is felt, what may not be seen with the natural eye, but what could be seen with the spiritual eye, um, feelings and emotions and the building of friendships, I guess, and relationships, or cooking, or management of a home, or whatever other skill sets most the universe widely, you know, puts towards the feminine energy. then if a man is in need of that insight, you seek out a woman because it is understood that this is what that person's expertise is in. So mutual submission is more so to me about whoever is the expert or whoever is more well versed in any given thing, that you seek out that person, you hear them out, you take their counsel, and then you utilize that along with whatever it is that you work with or what have you. Or if you are seeking them out totally because you don't know what to do and how to move, then what they tell you, you do because you trust their expertise, right? That's what mutual submission means to me. And therefore, I mean, I feel like that's just kind of like a given. It's supposed to happen because there are things that women are qualified to talk about. There are things that women are naturally more apt to. Vice versa, there are things where men are naturally more apt to know about it. They're well versed in those things, okay? However, as we can see, there are exceptions because there are women who know about how to fix a car. There are women who know how to logically reason, right? There's always exceptions. There are men who can throw down in the kitchen. There are men who very much have a gift of understanding and being able to articulate their emotions, whereas there are women who might not be that way. So I say that to say that basically mutual submission deals, like I said, with somebody who is skilled in a matter, or they have proven themselves to be well versed in something. You go to them when the time calls for it, right? And you submit yourself to their information, and you take that information and you apply it to your life as you need to. Um, and of course, if they are giving direction, then you follow those directions because you trust their expertise. You trust what they're known for. So the issue that I see is that men want women to submit. But to mention submission to a man, right? Something that they feel that women should do innately to them, number one. Number two, I have found that there is such a negative connotation associated with submission when men are talking about it to women, that even men themselves, when the word is reflected back onto them, or when it is said that you too are supposed to submit, most of them, they frown their faces become distorted. Some men even get all the way up in arms and they're like, I'm not supposed to submit to no woman. I'm not supposed to do this and I'm not supposed to do that. And there is a rage, right, that comes out. And I have seen this, so I know what I'm talking about. I'm not asking any questions here because I've seen it in conversation. There is a rage for some men, and then there's this level of no, I'm not for some men when it comes to submission, and especially to a woman. And I always wondered, like, why would you? This is my question with that. If you, as a man, don't want to submit to a woman, and there's a rage that comes with this idea, and this is, like I said, it's not all men, but there's a rage that comes with this idea. And according to certain doctrines and beliefs, a man is to, first of all, we are to treat our neighbors as we do ourselves. So, just on a very basic level, men and women are neighbors. That's first. Oh, excuse me. And then, even when it comes to relationships such as marriage, um, the Bible, which is where submission, if I'm not mistaken, supposedly comes from, right? And a lot of other religions or doctrines. The Bible even states that a man, a husband, is supposed to treat his wife as himself. And I believe that is because clearly they're supposed to become one. You know, he's supposed to look at his wife the way that he sees himself. He's supposed to treat and respect his wife the way that he does himself. So Here's my thing. You've got these men who say they believe in the Bible and then they come preaching submission and beating women over the head with submission. But to turn around and say that there's a mutual submission, or to say you two are supposed to submit to your wife, they're angry and they're like, no, I'm not supposed to submit to my wife. And they get this rage. And it's like, why would your wife, okay, like, why would your wife happily take on this whole idea of submission when you yourself have a whole problem with it if it were you that had to do it? Why should your wife be happy about it? Why should your wife be excited to take this on when you yourself have a whole volatile reaction to the word when it pertains to you in regards to her? And this is somebody who you're supposed to see yourself as one with. What is so bad to you about the idea that you have of submission that you were like, I'm not supposed to submit to my wife. I'm not supposed to submit to my wife. I've been baffled by this. I'm like, why would your wife, who's supposed to be a lot like you, if you think about it, like, you know, you and your wife are not supposed to be these totally two separate entities where, like, you have nothing in common. There's no commonality. There's no way that you see yourself in your wife and vice versa. There's no way that she sees herself in you. That's not a marriage. A marriage is supposed to be where you see yourself in your spouse. You recognize yourself in your spouse. Hence the reason that you would, and this is why a woman obviously would know who to submit to it, I guess, at some point, because it's like, I recognize myself in you. And you recognize yourself in me. And because I honor myself, I'm going to honor you. That's how it's supposed to be. But a lot of brethren, when it comes to submission, please forgive me, something was in the corner of my mouth. When it comes to submission, it's like, like, we're one and I want to marry you and I want to become one with you fleshly by having sex with you. But I'm not going to be one with you when it comes to showing mutual honor and respect here. I'm not going to respect the expertise that you have. That's what kind of, anybody who's arguing basically against mutual submission, in my mind, that's what I hear. Like, I'm not going to respect you for what you're noted for, and I'm not going to hear you out on what you have expertise in. A lot of the men seem to argue, a lot of the brothers who seem to argue for submission, it's a one-sided thing. It is only them, and it's very authoritative. I'm the one with the power here, so you have to listen to me. So for me, I find that there are a lot of brethren who really don't know what submission is. They are regurgitating things that they've heard from other men. They're regurgitating things from religious dogma. That's what I have found. And a lot of women put up a resistance to that because I'm pretty sure that we were built with submission within us. And so we understand that this is not something that you can dictate to us. It's something that we give to you based upon what we see you do, based upon your track record. Now, granted, if we obviously marry a man, yes, you would think that submission should come right away like that, and I think that to a degree it does. But again, if there's inconsistencies, this is how I feel. Now, I feel that I've seen different in scripture. Like, I've seen a woman who pretty much looked like she was submissive to her husband, who was considered wicked up until his death. But now, when I think about it, now, even in this moment, I still see a level of her expertise working, you know, and I still see him not submitting, the man, in this particular account. And I'm talking about Abigail and Nabal, right? Abigail was considered a woman of wisdom. And here's the thing, she technically went against her husband. In her wisdom and everything, she went against her husband's wishes and authority, if you think about it. Her when it came to King David, he was the king, but he wasn't widely recognized as the king yet. But in the spiritual realm, he was already the king, and Saul wasn't. But nevertheless, that's not the point. The point is David and his men reached out to Nabal and his camp as the men, hey, this is what we need. Send this, send this, send this. They put in their request. And Nabal is like, who the hell are you? And, why should I have to give up things that I've procured and that I've worked hard for all year? Give it to somebody that I don't even really just know like that. I don't know who you all player. That was kind of like what the response was. And Abigail, I'm sure, overheard all of these things, or she at least received word from somebody in their camp. And because she knew who David was, for whatever her reason is, if it's just a spiritual implication or if she had already heard certain things about what was going on in the kingdom, whatever the case, however she knew who David was and to respect his authority and to respect him, that wisdom and that knowledge and that understanding led her to do something that was technically against her husband, because her husband, for all intents and purposes, had said, no, I'm not going to give you anything, David. I'm not giving you or your boys anything, you know. And so Abigail, the wife who is supposed to be in submission, which these men say would be listening to what I say, doing what I say, thinking as my mind, um, carrying out my will. Not saying that that's not totally, like, not saying that there's no accuracy in that, because there is, okay? Again, but there's a choice that has to go with that. But long story short, Abigail has to make a decision because she receives word that this man is coming and there's an order that death is coming to their whole family. Maybe not to the women, but to all the men, death is coming. It's imminent, right? And so she gets wind of this and she immediately springs into action with her wisdom and her understanding. And she totally saves her entire family's life, including that of her wicked husband, okay? Who still, in the end, the Lord killed, quote unquote, or his actions, karma still came back up on him and he still died, of something with his heart. I say that and I point this out because if Abigail was in what some of these men deem to be total submission to her husband, then she would have also stood by her husband and said, no, we're not giving any food to this family. And I mean, not this family, but we're not giving you guys any food. And what would have had to happen was, okay, well, the men in your family are going to die. And a lot of bloodshed, a lot of lives would have been lost. But Abigail, in all of her wisdom, she knew the Torah, she understood it very well, and she was able to speak it back to King David when he was coming to make good on his word in regards to her, all the men in her household. You know, um, she was able to, first of all, she got together everything that was asked and probably more. And then she literally had words against her husband's, you know, aforementioned words. And without her husband even knowing, she went out in secrecy to meet King David and all the people that were coming with him. And she single handedly saved and protected and covered her family with her wisdom and her quick action. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out exactly where I'm going because I know that my point is about submission, but it's also about, I guess, that there is a time that a woman has to know when to submit and when not to. And I know that that might sound super crazy to somebody because they're going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? You're making up shit. No. If we're going to talk about submission is a woman, and this is, again, this is how some men think submission is. You listen to everything I say, you carry out my will, and you don't think on your own. You don't utilize the wisdom and the understanding that the Most High gave you. You just need to listen to me, right? This is how some people pretty much blanket submission. This is what they say. And women are like, okay, but what about when you're fucking up? What about when you're doing something wrong? And I can clearly, in my spiritual person, in my spiritual sight, see that you're not doing something right. Okay. What if our life depends on it? That's where women be like, wait a minute though, brother. Like, you should be able to hear me out. You know, you should be able to listen to, if I'm telling you that I'm getting insight, it may not be something that you can see, taste, touch, smell, or whatever. But if I'm telling you with my wisdom, you know, with where I reign supreme, and you don't listen to me, what happens if our family is devastated because of that? So this is where I know that a lot of women's minds go. Men are just like, you need to listen to me because I'm the authority here. No, I think that's a problem. You're not the only authority here. And I think that that's what a lot of women are here. It's not even, we're equal, but it's not like we're equal in having to do the same thing. We're equal because we equally have powers and strengths that we bring to the connection. So that's why there's supposed to be a mutual submitting, a mutual respect, a mutual honor. And it's not just in, women are not only powerful because they can bring life into this world, though that is extremely important and worth honor and reverence. It's not just that. It's the spiritual connection that we have to the Creator as well. It is evident that the source deals with us. That source speaks to us. Shit, that spirit speaks to us, which is still connected to source. Even if it's demons or if it's so-called angels, we are sensitive to all of that energy. And so that is something that is paramount in even manifesting and living this life in the physical realm, because the spirits are all around still. And where men are weaker in sensing that, because we are the element that they have been disconnected from or severed from, and literally put, it's right here alongside you now, right? So moving on, I'm sorry, I probably went all over the place, and I hope that I made some sense. I promise I'm not on this channel to try to say don't submit. That's not my point. But what I am wondering is, what is submission to some of the men that they don't desire to do it themselves when it comes to showing honor and respect that's due to their wives, submitting themselves to the authority that she has, not just in the bedroom, not just when it comes to cooking, not just when it comes to child rearing, and maybe typing and whatever other thing that you feel is just something reserved for a woman. Spiritually as well, women have a spiritual role to play in the earth, and therefore also in your life, my brothers. So this is why mutual submission is important. And anybody who wants to say that submission is not mutual, or who chooses to say that submission only comes from the woman's end in the union, I am afraid of them. I'm afraid of them, because I'm afraid that they don't see that the Most High put the woman here to have dominion as well. Like, there's, and yes, there's an order, because men like to say there's an order, there's an order, there's an order. It's me first, then it's you, then it's the children. And it's like, but where does that say that? And even if, I need to rephrase that because I've read where it says that. So let me rephrase what I mean. It's not about where does that say that. It's more so about what is your understanding of what headship means? Because it looks like that men feel that because they're the head, this means that they can dictate everything. But even the head, yes, the head sends signals to all the rest of the body for what to do. But likewise, the body parts and all the other functions internally, they send signals back and forth to one another. And if ever there is a disconnect from those other external and internal systems where the brain can send it, but it can't receive back word from those systems, there is a disconnect, there is a breakdown there, and there is something wrong in the body. So imagine what that's like in any kind of other. Take that I just said and apply it to a relationship. Yes, you're the head, but if you have somebody that is a member of your family, if you have a wife, then your wife, like as the head, you're not only supposed to be only sending out signals. You're supposed to be able to receive signals as well, you know? And so it all goes to show how these things are supposed to work together. And I really sense that the reason why there is still a disconnect in unions is because a lot of men don't understand that. They feel that, oh, please excuse me, y'all. I told y'all I got indigestion and I was going to be kind of doing that little burping thing. But I feel that a lot of men really don't understand submission themselves, but they're trying to teach it and demand it from the people who know about submission and from the one whose submission was innately given to them. And I think that that's a problem. And I would venture off to say that that is out of order because you can't speak to that if you, I mean, and especially if you don't have an understanding of it and it's clear and evident that you don't have an understanding of it, you know. I think that a lot of brethren, they'll say, oh, we do have to submit. We do have to submit. We have to submit to the Most High. Well, who is the Most High, guys? Who is the Most High but me and you? Who is the Most High? It's not just some external force that we can't see. The Most High made us in their likeness, and then they made male and female. We are the Most High together. So if we're not working together, then we are not in tune with the Most High. No matter no matter what you believe, if you're not working in unison with your wife as a man and us as women, if we're not working in unison with our husbands as wives, then we're not acting like the Most High. You know? The Most High has given, the Most High delegates tasks, and then the Most High allows for those that have been delegated tasks to do those things. And it seems as though the Most High allows for those that they have given the task to complete it in a way that they are, they are, they have faith that those who they give the task to will carry it out. So anyway, I'm all over the place now, and I'm don't want to make this any longer and drawn out than what it has been. Share your thoughts on what submission is. Share your thoughts on the idea of mutual submission, because I think that's what submission is. It has to be mutual. Um, I think that it's been written in scripture as well. Ephesians 6 talks about, submitting ourselves one to another in the respect and honor of the Most High. And it may say brethren, but women are included in that, because it's already been noted that in the spirit there is no male or female. It's the feminine and masculine energy in unity. So, you know, it's like if brethren is used, that still includes females. So if we're part of the assembly, we're part of the body, we're a part of the church, then that means that that letter that was talking about submitting one to another in the respect of the Most High, where it says the fear of the Most High, then that's talking about women too, you know? And then it goes on to then get more specific about how to do this. Women, you do this, you do the submitting in this way. Men, you do the submitting in this way. So I don't know. It bothers me that brethren can quote 23 or whatever scripture that is. I don't remember by heart, and I got my Bible right here, but I would mess up my music and I want to. But y'all know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, you can definitely Google that scripture. There is a scripture that precedes the one that everyone harps on for the woman, and it talks about mutual submission. And I just feel like that's how teamwork goes. In a team, there are people who have strengths and there are people who have weaknesses. And even the ones who have weaknesses have strengths. So if you want your team to succeed, you hone in on, you put somebody where they're strong, and then you work on strengthening those parts where they are weak. But you would never just throw somebody who's weak in a certain area just out and be like, you got to be strong here. That's not wisdom. Some people probably would do that. And it looks like, according to the way that some of these people tend to work, they would. But a wise leader doesn't do that. You take into consideration what your people have their strengths in and where they're weaker. And yes, you focus on weakness in order to make them stronger, but you still encourage their strengths and you place them where they are strong. Otherwise, your team risks being experiencing some setbacks or at least and even defeat in a way if you lead in an area where somebody is weak or you put someone in a position of leadership where they're weak. That is a point of contact or entry and a way for you to be penetrated. I mean, why did I go from team to like a fortress? Moving on. It's early in the morning. But I think you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Let me know in the comments how what your thoughts are. Please be respectful because I feel like I'm being respectful even in this talk. So you be respectful. But anyway, it doesn't matter because any comments that are disrespectful will be removed from this video because there's just no point. But yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This has been Jude, Naeem Shakam with the New Wife Chronicles. I think the next video that I'll probably post is going to be, or maybe it won't be a video, maybe it'll be a live discussion about, where the idea of roles for the male and the female came from in society. And who says that they have to be that way? If that's a topic that you'd be interested in having as a live discussion, give this video a thumbs up. And also let me know. Give me other ideas as well as some topics that you'd like to hear on this channel. I love you guys with the love of the Most High. You have a wonderful day. Oh, bye.